Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're gearing up for a virtual road trip to check out the incredible shapes, bumps, and grooves of our Earth. You know what we call landforms. By the end of this journey, I promise you're going to look at the world outside your window in a totally different way. So let's jump right in. Let's kick things off with this really beautiful ancient thought. It's from the Atharva Veda, specifically the Bhumi Sukta, or Hymn to the Earth. It says, "The earth is my mother, and I am her child." Wow, I just love that. It's a brilliant reminder of our deep, unbreakable connection to our home planet. We're not just living on the earth, you guys. Our whole lives are literally shaped by it. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, Earth's varied landforms. Then, the magic of mountains, discovering deserts, landforms and culture, and we'll wrap it all up with a final review and quiz. Section 1. Earth's varied landforms. Earth's changing face. Let's hit the road. Picture this. You're chilling in the back seat of a car on a massive road trip. What actually happens when you travel from Chhota, Nagpur in Jharkhand, cruise through Prayagraj in UP, and finally pull into Almora in Uttarakhand? Well, you wouldn't just be staring at one flat, boring road the entire time. No way. You'd see the Earth's surface dramatically transforming right before your eyes. You'd be driving through completely different worlds. In fact, on that exact drive, you'd run into the three major categories of landforms. First up, we've got mountains. These are the big ones, way higher than the surrounding land, with wide bases and really steep slopes. Then we have plateaus. Think of these like giant natural tables. They're elevated, but they've got relatively flat tops. And finally, plains, which are those lower, massive, flat expanses of land. It's wild to think these took millions of years to form, and each one has totally unique climates and wildlife. Moving right along to Section 2, the magic of mountains, peaks and valleys. Before we start climbing, we need to nail down a super important vocabulary word, altitude. Honestly, altitude is just the height of an object above sea level. You can measure the altitude of a mountain, a bird, or even an airplane. But here's the golden rule of geography you've got to remember. The higher your altitude, the colder the climate gets. So, knowing that it gets colder the higher up you go, we gotta ask, what exactly is snow? Well, if you don't live up in the mountains, you probably only see precipitation as rain. But at really high altitudes, where the air is literally freezing, that water falls as a beautiful white solid. Yep, snow is just water in a solid state. And if a mountain is tall enough, that snow just never melts. And speaking of giants, look at how these famous peaks stack up against each other. We've got Mount Everest, the absolute highest in the world, over in the Himalayas. Kanchenjunga is right there with it. Check out Mount Aconcagua, the highest in the Andes. Mount Kilimanjaro over in Africa, Mont Blanc in the European Alps, and Anamudi down in South India. Seeing them side by side like this really puts their massive size into perspective, doesn't it? Okay. Fun fact, mountains actually age, just like we do. Young mountains, like the Himalayas, are tall with these sharp, jagged peaks. They're basically teenagers in Earth years, which, still means millions of years old, but they are actually still growing. Old mountains, though, like India's Aravallis range, are much shorter and rounder. Why? Because of erosion. Over millions of years, wind and water act like a giant eraser, just slowly sanding those sharp peaks down. But hey, living in the mountains isn't all just hot cocoa and pretty snowy views. It comes with some really serious hazards. One of the scariest is an avalanche. That's the sudden, incredibly fast fall of snow, ice, or rocks rushing down a mountainside. It usually kicks off when the weather warms up just a bit, the snow starts melting, and it completely loses its grip on those steep slopes. Section 3. Discovering deserts. Dry and extreme. Let's warm things up a bit. When I say the word desert, I bet 99% of you immediately picture a blazing hot sun and endless hills of yellow sand. Actually, scratch that. It's a huge misconception. A desert is basically just a large expanse of land that gets almost zero precipitation. No rain, no snow. So yeah, they can be scorching hot, like the Sahara or the Thar Desert, but they can also be absolutely freezing. The Gobi Desert in Asia, that's a cold desert. In fact, most scientists consider the entire icy continent of Antarctica to be one massive desert. It's all about the lack of water, not the heat. Section 4. Landforms and culture. Nature shapes us. Let's see how humans fit into all this. You know, ancient cultures really hit the nail on the head when it came to understanding how we connect with our environment. Take the ancient Tamil classification system, called Tinai. They actually categorized different landscapes and linked them directly to human emotions and daily life. For instance, they took arid, dry, desert-like areas, which they called palai, and associated them with really tough activities, like journeying and fighting. It just perfectly shows that where we live completely changes how we live. So here's the main takeaway. Whether you're trying to dodge an avalanche in the freezing Himalayas or searching for water in the baking Thar Desert, humans have managed to survive and even thrive because of one incredible superpower: resilience. Resilience is our ability to face down serious challenges, adapt to completely wild situations, and overcome them. The fact that humans have built homes in literally every single one of these landforms, that's the ultimate proof of our resilience. Section 5. Final review and quiz. Test your knowledge. Let's see what's stuck. Okay, rapid fire question number 1. Think all the way back to the start of this explainer, when we took that virtual drive. What are the 3 major categories of landforms on Earth? Shout them out if you know them. If you yelled out mountains, plateaus, and plains, you nailed it. Awesome job remembering the 3 foundational shapes of our Earth. Let's try question 2. What is the absolute main difference between young mountains and old mountains? Close your eyes and picture the Himalayas next to the Aravallis range. What's the visual difference? The answer is young mountains are really tall with sharp, pointy peaks, while the old ones are shorter and kind of rounded off. Remember why? Erosion. It acts like a giant natural eraser, using wind and rain to smooth out those peaks over millions of years. Okay, final rapid-fire question. Number 3. Name just one example of a cold desert that we talked about today. Keep in mind, deserts are definitely not just hot sand. The correct answer is the Gobi Desert in Asia. Or, hey, if you said Antarctica, that totally counts too. Great job. Now you know the real geographic secret. It's a lack of water, not just crazy heat, that makes a desert a desert. You guys did absolutely fantastic today. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a quick thought experiment. If you suddenly had to move and adapt to a completely brand new extreme landform tomorrow, like, say, the peak of the Himalayas or the dead center of the Thar Desert, which one would you choose? And more importantly, how would you use your resilience to survive there? It's a fun one to think about. All right, until next time, keep observing the world outside your window and keep exploring this amazing planet of ours.